Okay, hi guys. So this is our first episode of Ultra Melodic Podcasts. I'm Dylan Regenberg, and I'm here with my co-host Vinisha. And we're just basically in this podcast just going to be talking about all things music related. We're going to dive into artists' full discographies, and we're going to talk about just our opinions on little things music related here and there. Fun games along the way and all that. And our first episode today is going to be on Taylor Swift. She's the artist of this week that we chose to discuss. She has a lot of albums, 9 to be exact. So let's get diving in right into her discography. So first we have Taylor Swift, also known as Debut by her fans. So Venetia, if you want to talk about that and your thoughts on it.
Sure. So Debut came out in 2006, and she was 16 at the time of its release. So I actually took some notes on my thoughts on it, and I even included notes on her cover art, just because it's an important part, I think. Um, just the cover art, real briefly. Not a fan. I didn't like the blue, green, wispy looking things, and her hair just, I don't know, like it's her hair is somewhat iconic, but I just didn't like that. Like I just didn't like that cover. I don't know why. Um, but overall, I think it was a strong debut, and it's her most country sounding album. So it's the most different from anything else that she has produced, I think. Um, I wouldn't say like this was a good start for her. I think
Yeah.
this was a good place for the public to see what she will bring to the table. And I think a big part of that is we got to see her songwriting. At the age of 16, writing these songs is an incredible feat, I think, and that's something that we got to see. Um, that was kind of like those are my main thoughts. I love country Taylor, so a part of me does love listening to this album, but mainly the singles are where I'm at. I'm thinking Picture to Burn, Teardrops on My Guitar, Our Song, Cold as You. Those are the songs that I mainly like listening to. But Dylan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so Taylor Swift original album, only 15 and 16 years old when she wrote this. So I feel like just naturally off of that, when you're that young, your ability in songwriting as a songwriter, which Taylor Swift is going to be limited. You're not going to have the mental capacity to reach the highs that she reached later in her career. And I'm sure she would agree with me. It's just very, very young and limited in experience. It's not a bad album. There's nothing offensively bad about this album. It's just not that good. It's straight up country, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely within that realm, but there's nothing to really write home about this album. It sounds like a 15 or 16-year-old wrote it. Granted that it is good for that age. I couldn't write an album that good still.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of the songs on here are just kind of forgettable, and I feel like a lot of fans would agree with me. I can't even I don't go back to this album that much. I can't even remember too many songs. Obviously, Tim McGraw, her debut single, it's a solid country song.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the other songs on, like you said, Picture to Burn, Teardrops on My Guitar are good. But a lot of these other songs, like let's see, The Outside, Tie Together Was a Smile, Cold as You, Should Have Said No is not bad, but like Invisible, all these songs that I'm saying, like they're just kind of forgettable. And it's like Taylor's done a lot better ever since then. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's not bad, but it's just, just Taylor's grown as an artist. We know that.
Yeah.
And she knows that too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I completely agree. It's a great start, but she's just progressed since.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then for next album, we have Fearless, which is essentially her sophomore effort. This came out in 2008 and commercial success for her. It won Album of the Year at the Grammys. It had smash hits, Love Story, You Belong With Me. So yeah, Venetia, what do you think about this album?
I like giving these albums like my own little titles, and I put like her breakthrough album ? There's one of like either Fearless, Speak Now, or Red, which we will talk more later about, is her breakthrough album. And I can't decide which one because I think all three of them played a role in making her a household name. But yes, so this album had a lot of commercial success. Love Story is my all-time favorite Taylor Swift song. So that song has a lot of meaning to me. I think so. She was 18 at the time of this release, I think, and the level of maturity of her writing is on par with someone of that age. Like, so with her debut, I feel like she was a little more mature than what I expected a 16-year-old to write.
Mm-hmm.
But then with Fearless, I was like, okay, no, she's writing at the age level that she is.
Yeah.
So I think my biggest critique about this album is that I think some of the lyrics are just simply outdated. I just don't, I can't really look at that album and say, like, yeah, this was really great writing when she's so clearly has produced something
Mm-hmm.
even better with Folklore and Evermore. And like, again, it was great for its release, but she's just done so much better. I also think this is kind of where she started including pop elements, and that definitely helped her in her rise to fame as well. And and then of course the re-recordings came out this year. I like the re-recording better.
Yeah.
I like everything. The production is better.
100%.
She sounds better.
Yeah.
The vault songs did not disappoint, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. I actually enjoyed all of them. Most of them probably better than some of the original tracks even. And I'm really glad that she was able to do that and release them
On her
um,
own terms.
on her
Yeah.
own, exactly, on her own
Mm-hmm.
terms, the way that she wanted us
The way
to
she
hear it.
intended. Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think.
I agree with that. There's not about the original Fearless album. There's not really that much for me to say. I think it was definitely a step up from Taylor Swift, but I do think that overall this album is solid. It's country pop, and I do think it's good for what it is. I think it's better than her bottom barrel albums, but I don't think it's as good as her top tier albums. So when we're looking at songs on here that this track list has, so like White Horse is pretty good. Fearless, probably one of my favorite album
Yeah.
openers, title track. I love that one. Obviously we got Love Story and You Belong With Me. 15, I like, that's a cute song for the time. But then
Yeah.
you've got other songs like Superstar here and other filler-ish tracks that like aren't as good.
Hmm.
So it's not really like just like Taylor Swift, it's not anything offensively bad, and I do really think this is a step up. So I think it's solid overall, but like you said, it hasn't really stood the test of time as well as her other albums.
Right.
And it's not one of my top choices to play. But with this re-release, like we said, I really do think that is better than the original album. And we get to see how she intended it to be with her
Mm-hmm.
current voice and all of that. And I really do like the vault songs. Mr. Perfectly Fine's great.
Yes.
But that's one of my favorite. That was my favorite one. But I really
Yeah.
do think that this album did not deserve to win Album of the Year in 2010. I believe it won. I
Hmm.
but I can see it get a nomination. I just don't think it deserved to win. I think some of her other albums deserve that more. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with
I agree. I don't think this was the album to win.
yeah. Mm-hmm. But as we transition into Speak Now, her third album, I think honestly, even though Fearless is commercially successful, probably more commercially successful because it had two smash hits, I really do think that Speak Now honestly overshadows this for her country magnum opus, if you will say. I think
Mm.
this album's even better than that. So what are your thoughts on it?
Speak Now is my favorite Taylor Swift album.
Mm-hmm.
I will like that album is so good. It's so good. The cover the cover art, okay. I didn't talk about the cover art in the last album. The
Yeah.
cover art isn't as good. I was like, the purple dress is iconic, like, but it's like mediocre. But what I love most about this album is this is, in my opinion, it's her most authentic work. This is entirely written by her. So like every single word that you hear on this album is just Taylor Swift. These are her thoughts, her feelings, her opinions. And that, like, to me, that just resonated so well. Like when I listen to it, I know I'm listening to her. I'm not listening to anyone else. I'm listening to her.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I love. So,
Mhm.
and again, like Taylor Swift, as you said before, is a songwriter. This is the talent she needs to showcase is through
This is the
her
epitome of
words.
that. Yeah.
um I do like, again, more pop elements you start to see here. But when I was doing a little bit of research, a lot of people would say like Mean is one of her most country sounding
Yeah.
songs. And like people don't like it, but I love Mean. I think it's so
Yeah.
cute. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I love Mean. One of the reasons I think this is my favorite album is also it has a lot of nostalgia. for me. This played all the time. This is all I heard for a good year or two.
Yeah.
And really, I think this contains some of her best works. Like Dear John has to be one of her best songs.
Yeah.
It's
Essential Taylor Swift.
exactly. It's so
Yeah.
well written. It's also her longest song too. But I think Speak
Extraordinary.
Now. hmm Speak Now was like the end of her like really country era. I think Red was the transition.
Mhm.
Speak Now was like the last of the country
Yeah.
albums. And so with that, I want to emphasize that I think Taylor Swift was very influential in this genre. I think she was that artist that got people interested in country music.
Mhm.
And she, along with other, I think mainly female country singers, really pushed this country pop idea, making it a little bit more mainstream so that more people will enjoy it. So I think her influence in that genre is probably greater than any other genre she's done,
Mhm.
which I think is a hot take for some people, but that's where I stand.
No, I feel like since it was so long ago, people honestly like, I mean, I don't think they forget, but they kind of overlook it because I remember I was 8 years old when this album came out, and I remember seeing her everywhere, even still, like at the CMAs, the Country Music
Yeah.
Award, and like even hearing her like on country radio. Like I think I remember like Means, The Story of Us, and like Speak or Sparks Fly. I heard like those on the radio a lot when I was
Sparks.
really, really young. And those
Mm-hmm.
songs have stuck with me, but I really do think that this album, it has like honestly like a nice little country and rock blend too,
Mm-hmm.
has its sound to it, and I really do like it. My favorite, all-time favorite Taylor Swift song is probably Enchanted, and that is on this album. It honestly just hits different than all Taylor Swift songs, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like. That bridge is great, but yeah. Other than that, Back to December, also one of my favorite Taylor Swift
Back to
songs.
just
Yeah, I just love it.
that.
Haunted, I really like Haunted too.
Yes, that's
Um,
so beautiful.
yeah, so it has a lot, like a lot of these songs are in contention for like my top Taylor Swift songs.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got, let's see, yeah, the ones I just said. Then you got songs like Better Than Revenge, which is like a bit of a problematic bop, kind of. It's
I
a little
I
pretty
mean,
mode.
yeah, it's problematic, but like it still hits.
But like the
Still
fans like
hits.
it. So my issue with this album and why I don't think it's her number one best album, I do still think it's a little bit bloated in the track list, and I do think that some songs could have maybe been cut. But that's basically all I have for this album, and I just think it was a great, third album for her. And
Mm-hmm.
as she transitions into her sound to Red, which I'm a huge fan of. So, what do you think about that one?
Yes. Red is my second favorite Taylor Swift album. So yeah, this was her transition period. So she included a lot of country, but she also included a lot of very clearly pop songs. And I actually very much like that about this album. It has a little bit for everyone. If you want to listen to more pop songs, you got your we are never getting back together. I knew you were trouble. 22. But then if you want, a little bit more country sounding, what like I almost do is like a good one.
Yeah.
Then we got State of Grace, which is like completely different as well. It's also really good. I think State of Grace is her best
Here.
intro song. Like
Yes.
it describes the album so well. State of Grace is that song for Red.
If I had to
Um,
choose one song for her to make like her next album based on, it would be State of Grace. That
yeah.
sound I want her to go down.
Yes, I agree. I think that's a great song. My critique here though is that it is inconsistent. The songs in the album just kind of hop around all the time, and it doesn't really make any sense to me when I listen to it. I'm like, what? I'm not sure which direction she's going in sometimes. Um, but it has All Too Well, and I anyone who speaks poorly on Red, I just have to ask, how can an album contain All Too Well? Can
Exactly.
you
Like
say
it
that?
doesn't matter at that
It
point. That
doesn't
song's just so good.
exactly. I mean, before Folklore came out, All Too Well was like widely regarded her best song. And after Folklore's release, I still think it's easily
I
top
still think
five,
it's
if
her
not
best
top three.
song. Ugh, I
This
still
song
think it's
is still good. It is that good.
something special. It really is. Like it's
It
rare
is.
to come by a song like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And even the songs that are considered questionable aren't that
They
questionable.
aren't. They
Like
really
stay,
aren't.
stay. Listen, I get it. It's not
Yeah.
good. It's not that good, but it's not as bad as people make it out to be. So like,
You know what I say? If they put Stay, Stay, Stay on an album like Fearless, it wouldn't stick out because the quality of songs on Fearless aren't as good as the ones on Red, I feel like. So it would just
mhm.
kind of blend in, you wouldn't notice. But
Yeah,
on an album like Red, where there's so many highs, it's like, then it gets questionable. But
yeah.
honestly, Red, this is my favorite. I really do think Red is Taylor Swift's best album. And I'm going to explain why. I really do think when I think of Taylor Swift, I see a country star and I see a pop star, and this album just blends both of those elements so well in the best way possible. And I really do think that it has the highs on this album are all career highlights. So, like we said, State of Grace, I think this is her best opener. We got Red, the title track. I really enjoyed this song. We got Treacherous, another great song.
Yeah.
Holy Ground. All these songs are such highs. And then, of course, All Too Well, in my opinion, one of her best
Mhm.
songs. That song
Mhm.
is so hard to top. I cannot wait for the re-recording for that thing because I
Oh
heard
my gosh.
a longer version of it.
Uh-huh.
So I'm very excited. But this album, honestly, I just really do think, it also shows her personality well. You got songs like We Are Never Getting Back Together in 22, like songs that you might look at like with this, like questionably, but I really do think they're diaries of a 22-year-old girl at the time, a young
Yeah.
adult growing up, and they show her personality and like her spunk well, I feel like.
Mhm.
And that's something that I do look at as Taylor Swift, not only as an artist, but as a person. And when I hear this album and I get that energy and personality out of it,
Mhm.
I connect with it a little bit more. So I
Yeah.
really do think this album is just really something else, and it will stand the test of time. Her
Yeah.
songwriting on here was very solid, and people do say that it's bloated, it's long, there's some questionable songs, the direction's all over the place, and I can agree with that on some aspects, but I really don't, because I think, like I said, Stay, 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 songs that are weaker, I think if
Mhm.
you put it on any other Taylor Swift album, it wouldn't be too bad. But I really do think that I just love this album a lot, and I just think it's her best. I don't know. Yeah.
I no, I agree. I think it's incredible. Also, that red lip, come on that
The,
cover art. Can we just take a
the
second?
cover
That red
art, it's
lip,
iconic.
just
It's
that
like,
became her. That
yeah,
became her, and I
yeah.
love that. I love
Mhm.
that. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And as I was talking about in Fearless, I can't tell which one of these Fearless, Speak Now, or Red, which one became like made her a household name. But
Mhm.
this album also has a very strong
Strong.
reasoning, like
Mhm.
for it to be that album that really broke her through and made her a household name. So,
And I do want to preface really quick when I say like about the lows on this album. I don't listen to the deluxe version, so I know "Girl at Home's" on there, which is like a weaker
mhm,
song. I'm not
mhm.
including that in the critiques that I'm giving, so that's why I'm not saying that. But I really do think on the standard version, "Stay, Stay, Stay" is really the only weak one.
I
So
agree.
that's what I think about Red. I just think it's definitely one of her best albums.
Hmm.
So now we got 1989, her first full-on pop album,
Yep.
essentially synth pop produced by Max Martin, and arguably the biggest pop producer ever, released in 2014. Huge commercial era for her. She got 3 number ones out of this and massive
Hmm.
hits. So what do you think of this one?
So here are where my hot takes come into play. So, yes, this is a good, like, this is by no means a bad album. I will never say it is. This is a good album. It's done well, but that's all I'm going to say. Like, that's all I can say about this album. I don't, when I look at this album, I only see the hits.
Mhm.
If you take out the hits, if you take out the singles, I don't think this album provides as much as people claim it does. Most of these songs are very middle of the, like, so they're not bad, but they're not like incredible. Any of Most of these songs are very middle of the pack Taylor Swift, which isn't really shocking. Like, it's not something that makes me want to go, yeah, this is that good.
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is so hit heavy, so single heavy, and its commercial success is huge, and I get that. And like, it won the Grammy, which I don't want to get into that, but like, it shouldn't have. But I don't see anything else. I
Yeah.
genuinely don't see anything else. And one thing one thing I remember is very distinctly when I first heard this album, when the singles were coming out and all of that. The first two were Shake It Off and Blank Space.
Yeah.
And then the third one was like either Style or Wildest Dream. I think the third one was Style. And I remember when Style came out, my only thought was, why was this the third? Why didn't she release this first? Like, why were these two not that great songs released, and then this absolute incredible song released? Like the best songs, and by far, like the best are some of her best songs, right? It's like Style, Wildest Dreams, New Romantics, which is on deluxe, but New Romantics, Out of the Woods, incredible songs. Some of Taylor Swift's best work. Yeah. But like, I'm not gonna sit here and say Bad Blood is worthy of being like defended. I don't want to defend Bad Blood. I don't want to defend Shake It Off. I just can't. You can't. I'm not going to. You know. Okay. Anyways, the cover is great. I love the cover. I love the cover though.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, basically my take on 1989. I really, really do actually think that this is a good pop album. So when I look on paper, there's not much wrong with this album. You know, it does still maintain the songwriting aspect and storytelling that Taylor Swift did have in her first few albums. But she does it in such a way that I think is revitalized with this pop sound. You got like banging synths, you got the structure. I feel like 1989 is like taken out of like the textbook definition of like pop. And then, but it does it so well. Like it has the verse, chorus, bridge, final chorus structure. And Max Martin, you know, comes on this thing and like obviously, and Shellback, like they do their thing with this. They do it in such a great way that I think was a great collaboration. They complemented each other with Taylor Swift's songwriting. And I just do think this has a lot of great songs. And what you were saying with like, it doesn't have much to offer outside of the singles. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because Clean, for instance, I think this is a really, really great song, a really great deep cut. I also like I Know Places. But I can see where you could say like the other songs aren't absolutely top tier. But yeah, but it does have some weak points like Bad Blood, like you were saying. I'm not a huge fan of Welcome to New York. All you had to do was Stay is okay, but I don't think it's top tier. And then, or sorry, not All You Had to Do is Stay. I like that one. How You Get the Girl was the one I don't think top tier. But honestly, I really do think that this is a solid and really, really good pop album. My issue with it and why I used to have this at like number 2 in my rankings, but I kind of lowered it to number 4. As I'm listening to more music, like a lot more pop albums, I'm realizing that this album doesn't really have like a style to it. Like it does, like, you know what, you could say that it does, like it has, you know, like Max Martin, like they said with it, but he's done a lot of other albums before, so it's going off of stuff that's came out in the past. Whereas I look at whereas I think of like the best pop albums of all time, I think of like Thriller by Michael Jackson, Ray of Light by Madonna, Purple Rain by Prince. Those albums have such a unique style to it that like only they could have pulled it off, and I could recognize the song from that album. This one kind of has that, but it's like it's not the same. There's not as much, like it's not as intriguing, and it doesn't stand out as much. It's kind of just a little bit plain, but I really do think that this is I think that this is her best pop album. So that's my opinion. But moving on to Reputation. So this one's definitely, I'm not sure if people are going to be happy with their thoughts on this one, but what do you think about it?
It's her worst. I don't care what people say. It's her worst. I'm not going to sit here and defend this album at all. Taylor Swift is capable of missing, and she missed, okay? She's a human. It's okay. We move on. She has done better since. But this album's so bad. I re-listened to it last night because I was like, you know what? Maybe I should give it another try. Let me see if I try. This is like my third or fourth try. At this point,
it sounds worse as time goes on.
I can't listen to it without cringing. Like I cringe at these songs. I wrote down notes. Okay, cover art. Probably one of her worst. Did not like it. I like the font and like the writing. I thought that was cool.
I actually like the cover art.
Really? So
I don't love it, but I think it's one of her better ones. The visuals blow the music out of the water for this thing, though.
Yeah. The music videos. I think the visuals are good. I agree. The music videos were good. So this is a huge drop down from 1989. Like I had great expectations for after 1989, and its success and how good it was, I was like, oh, this one's gonna be better. No, it wasn't. It was actually worse. I know that I feel like there's two parts to this album. I feel like maybe the first half was talking a little bit more on. Actually, you know what? No, scratch that. I don't really know how the album's actually broken down half by half, but there's two aspects to this album. One is the point that she was trying to make to the industry, right? Whatever point it was. I don't know. She's fighting the media. And the second one was her finding love in a difficult time period.
Yeah.
So for the first part, you made your point. Move on. Like, I feel like she used a sound that is just not for her. Like this deep mood, like dark, moody trap hip hop type sound. It's
not
just
Taylor Swift.
It's not Taylor
It's
Swift.
not who we know, the artist we know her to be.
Exactly. So all of those songs, and there were multiple of them with that. I'm like, this just sound good. Endgame is just a combination of people I didn't want to see. Why would you do that? Like, yeah, so like the beat of I Did Something Bad, I actually really like it. I like the beat. I just don't like Taylor Swift on the beat. Like,
no, not sonically.
And okay, let's talk about something positive from the album. Delicate is great. I like the song Delicate. I think if I were to listen to a song of Reputation, it'd be that one and only that one. And so I probably should talk about this earlier, but the second part of the album that people are saying it's about the love story, like her finding love, the love songs. She didn't write 8 other albums for you to say that this is the good love song. Taylor Swift has 50 other love songs that are incredibly better. Like, why would you say? Why would you? It just feels so, like, I feel so disrespected. Like,
it's almost disrespectful to her as an artist, you know, because if you've listened to her other albums, you know what she's capable of.
Exactly. One more positive note. Look What You Made Me Do has got to be one of her worst songs, but it was a great single choice, I think. Okay.
Great music video. I'll give it that.
Great music video. Great music video. Great like choices. It being the single, I think it does explain the whole era and all of
the tone for like what the world she's building is going to be. It's just the world wasn't that good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, honestly, my thoughts on Reputation, I agree. I just think this album she really missed the mark on for what she was going for. I think that it's just disrespectful to call this like a masterful concept album and like one of her best albums, because if you read the lyrics on this thing, it's just so surface level. And I would have liked the concept she was going for of like the dark sides of fame, what's happened and stuff. But this isn't something unique to Taylor Swift. Other artists have explored this before. I mean, I'm thinking of like the Black Album by Jay-Z, the Fame Monster by Lady Gaga, explored these aspects of fame really well. And Reputation just doesn't go like that deep with it, I find. I really just, in the production on this thing isn't particularly good. People can be like, oh, it's more like groundbreaking than 1989. And like, not really, because the synths on this thing are very dated. As I listen to it now, it sounds so old already. Like even Ready for It, it kind of sounds like it's like a weird like dated Yeezus reject, honestly. Like it sounds like this, it has this weird dubstep thing going on, and it's
you
like
just made a Taylor Swift Kanye West comparison.
I'm sorry, but like, well, granted, I do like the little pre-chorus part, like in the middle of the night, that part's good, but then when it gets to Are You Ready for It, it's like, it's like that was a little bit unexpected, but I do think that Endgame's just completely like not what we wanted at all. Ed Sheeran and Future collabing like on this trap beat isn't really just no. And then it's something bad. I don't really even like the song at all. I think it sounds dated. I think it's just not Taylor Swift's authentic self. She's trying to be this mean girl persona that we didn't really get. We know her personality by listening to her first few albums. This was not it. Don't Blame Me is actually not that bad. I think this might be one of the better songs on the album, one of the more tolerable ones, even though I think it sounds so much like Hozier's Take Me to Church. I just think it sounds just like that song, which I can't get it out of my head.
Oh my gosh.
No, seriously, if you think about it.
I'm going to go back and listen to it again now.
Delicate's good though. Like you said, I do believe the aspect she was trying to portray in Delicate. Look What You Made Me Do, awful. Just going through these really quick. So It Goes, forgettable. Gorgeous, I hate. Getaway Car, here we go. A good song. This was my favorite song on the album. and I think it's one of her best songs today. I really love Getaway Car, so I'm a defender of that song, and I do like the concept and meaning and lyrics behind it, and I love that bridge. So Getaway Car is the
That's
one
true.
shining aspect of this album, but I wish there was more. She's got this weird, like airy, like ambient vibe and dress in King of My Heart, like
Oh
which I'm
God.
not really liking
Oh,
that much.
yeah,
I know
no.
fans really like King of My Heart. I'm just not a fan. Dancing
Hmm.
with Our Hands Tied is a basic pop song, you know.
Hmm.
This is why we can't have nice things awful. Call It What You Want. I actually don't mind the song. It's just that the trap beat's just like a little bit different for Taylor, but I don't think it's a bad song.
Hmm.
And New Year's Day, I also don't think is a bad song, but it's just so awkward and so out of place on this album. How are you going to have all these different like weird like dance pop influences and you're going to have just a cliche like ballad at the end? Like it's just, I
Hmm.
don't know. It just left me with a lot of questions. So
I agree.
1989, not a huge fan. Or sorry, Reputation, not a huge fan. Reputation, not a huge fan. I'm a fan of 1989, not Reputation. Sorry.
Oh no. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Okay. Anyways, as we transition into her last pop album, I should say, 2019's release, Lover. A lot of interesting aspects about this one. What do you think about it?
I think this is her best pop album by a smidge. I specified by a smidge. I don't think it's like overshoots 1989. I just think it's slightly better. I love the cover. I feel like some people don't, but I like it. It makes me feel happy. I love the color scheme. Oh, oh my gosh. Okay. My only thoughts on this are this. Me and You Need to Calm Down should have been removed entirely. It shouldn't have been on the album. She could have had them as singles, and that's fine. But she shouldn't have put them on the album because I feel like those songs drag the album down.
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of incredible songs on this album is actually like shocking. Like we got Cruel Summer, we got Lover, Miss Americana,
It has
Paper
its
Rings,
moments.
Cornelia Street, Death by a Thousand Cuts, Afterglow. I just named 7 just right off the top. Like, okay, I wrote it down. That's why
Great
it's not off the top.
songs,
Like
genuinely.
they're genuinely incredible songs,
Yeah.
right? But we look past, not we, but like the public looks past that because of songs like Me, You Need to Calm Down, It's Nice to Have a Friend on it. And those songs just weigh the album down. If she had just kept them off the album,
Yeah.
this album would be respected 10 times more.
Definitely.
That's my main thought on this
Mhm.
album, you know, and what puts it just slightly above Over 1989 is I think that the tracks that are not the singles, that are not the hits, are just slightly better than the ones on 1989. I think they're all very middle of the pack. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't consider any of them her
Yeah.
best, but they are just a little bit better than the ones on 1989. And you
Yeah.
know what? I think another factor is that we never really did get a full and proper Lover era. We
We
never
only
really
did
got
like
it.
one performance for this
Exactly.
album.
And then the pandemic happened, so we didn't
Yeah.
really get a lot from it. And I think that
She
that's
tried
why
to
it's
continue it, but she just moved on to
exactly,
Folklore. Yeah.
exactly. Like she just could, and you know, that's not something she could control, obviously. So, you know, that is a sad part. But I love, like she seems genuinely happy. And
Happy.
that's what I love about this album is I just love it when she's like genuinely happy. And it was
Yeah.
a great contrast
I
from
think she had
Reputation.
fun recording this. Like I could tell.
Yeah, it just sounds like she had
Yeah.
fun.
At least she was her authentic self on this one.
Hmm.
Reputation, I don't think she was. So that's why I do think this album's a smidge better. But I really think that Lover, I see the potential. It's there. Like you said, there's so many good songs. Let's see. I'm going through the track list right now. Cruel Summer, great pop song. Lover title track, one of my favorites on here. You got, what else is there? Afterglow, False God, which is a really good one we didn't
Hmm.
talk about. I love that saxophone in there. So, like these songs that I'm naming, they're some of, honestly, like you can make an argument for them being some of Taylor Swift's best songs.
Hmm.
And I really do think that there is enough songs that are passable in quality where they could cut this album down. Like, holy shit, 18 songs. It's really rare that I like an album that's more than 15 songs,
Yeah.
honestly. There's bound to be filler, and that definitely was
Hmm.
the case in this thing. So the potential was there. If they cut this thing down, take Me off of there, You Need to Calm Down. It's Nice to Have a Friend. Soon will get better. I know the meaning behind it. It's beautiful. I just think sonically it's nothing really interesting. London Boy
Hmm.
has some like weird cringe lyrics going on. It's like, how
Yeah.
did she write this after all her other stuff?
Hmm.
Um, But no, all the other songs I would like, you can keep most of the other songs, but I think the production needed a little bit more of a revamping because the songs almost kind of come off as cheap to me for some
Mm-hmm.
reason. Not all the songs, but some of them do. So that just revamped the production a little bit, but the songwriting was there on a lot of the highlights. I'm saying it's just such a mixed bag that I can't consider it one of her best albums when you got so many duds in there. So I really, really do see the potential with Lover, but I just think it could have been better, but it's not bad overall. A little step up from Reputation. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now we got
Agree.
2020 released Folklore. Made a lot of waves, a lot of buzz, won album of the year at the Grammys. So
Yep.
what's your take?
I think this is her best written work. Um, but like by far. Like
Distant, I would say, lyrically.
like in short, like if I that is Folklore to me. Folklore is just incredible in the writing.
Yeah.
I've never heard her do anything better. Um, she like her talent is immense in that sense. I do like the cover. I think it's one of my favorites. I love the black and
Beautiful.
white. The
I
like
love it.
it's minimal. Like she's like so small and it's just like this big four. I
It
don't know. I
really
love it.
captures the essence of the album well, the cover.
Mhm.
And I love
Yeah.
that.
Mhm. I agree. I think it was a very impressive feat during the time of COVID, and it showcased her true talent, which is her songwriting. And this is like because Folklore came out, I find it blasphemous that anyone says anything is like that much better, like writing wise. Like people will say like Reputation is her best writing wise, and I'm like, a woman didn't release Folklore for you to say that. Like,
Yeah,
like what do you mean? I think
exactly.
I think Cardigan or August have to be her best song. I used to think it was All Too Well, but now I think it's Cardigan or August.
Mm-hmm.
Both
Half
are
agree.
just
Half agree.
I am like both are
Interesting.
so good. I'm here for Taylor cursing also. I feel
Yeah.
like that's
That's so,
this is something we need to talk about more.
I
She
know.
finally like actually was like cursing in songs.
Finally.
I
Except she
lived
did
for it.
do that in I Did Something Bad though. If a man talks shit, then I know.
But like
Yeah,
it
that was
was
really,
she would maybe in one song here or there. Here are
yeah.
like multiple songs where she did that.
Yeah.
And I was okay with I was like, you know what?
With
This
the
is
explicit label on it.
yeah, that's I
Finally.
saw the explicit label and I was like, oh my
It's
gosh,
kind of
we
like giving
are
me. I know I was like an Ariana, or I followed Ariana a while, and Dangerous Woman when I saw those explicit labels on it. I'm
mhm.
like, yes, finally.
Yes, we're finally
I
getting
know.
this.
Yeah.
Another few songs that I think are great. Betty, I think is incredible. The One, My Tears Ricochet, This Is Me Trying, and my favorite is The Last Great American Dynasty. A lot of
Oh,
people don't. I love The Last Great American Dynasty.
oh, good.
It's so good. But yeah, those are my notable tracks off this
Yeah.
album. Yeah, no, I was this really solidified the idea that she is one of the best songwriters we've
Hmm.
ever had, and this truly showed it.
Yeah, this was a great album to come out for her after Reputation and Lover, kind of a slump for her. But
Hmm.
Folklore really is her playing the long term game. I do think this album will be remembered down the line as one, even if it wasn't as big as like all her other albums. I mean, it still was big, granted. I shouldn't have said that, but still, it'll be remembered for its quality more than a
Hmm.
lot of her other albums. And it
Yes.
really
Yeah.
showcases her writing so well. And it's so consistent. I think this is definitely one of her most consistent albums. You don't have really many duds, if any, really.
No, there aren't very many like low points
No,
either.
not
It's
really.
all yeah.
Not really. So I really do think going through the track list here, I really like the one as an album opener. The Last Great American Dynasty is probably one of her best written songs. The storytelling on that thing is so,
Hmm.
so good. And it really shows you how she can paint a picture so vividly in someone's head, kind of like we got with All Too Well, but also with this one too. Same aspect.
Hmm.
That's what I love about Taylor. Exile was a good collab. Basically like all the songs like This Is Me Trying's also another one of my favorites. I like the vibe to that one. August, great, very rich melody in August.
Yes. Hmm. I'll just look to
So
it. Oh my
this
gosh,
album
I
has
love
a lot of,
that.
yeah, this album has a lot of rich melodies to it. Invisible String, I like that one. And then let's see, Cardigan I do like, but I will say, maybe hot take, I think it's a little bit overrated, only because I'm coming to this conclusion by myself. I know Fantano said this, but I do think it sounds so much like a Lana song. And I can't get that out of my head. It's
Oh
like
my God.
literally, I don't know.
Oh
It just
yeah,
sounds, I know Jack did this and he also did NFR, but it sounds like an NFR
it
song.
does. It does.
I don't
Now
know.
when I really think about it, I can see it. I can
You
see
get what
it.
I mean? Like the elongated vocals, like the syllables in it. Like she really,
Hmm.
I don't know, in the way she paints a picture with like all the stuff that she's, I
Hmm.
don't know, just the vibe to it really gives me Wanda energy. But
I
it's
feel
still a
that.
good song regardless. It really still is. I just wish the Last Great American Dynasty got that Song of the Year nomination over that one. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
Cardigan
then
had the radio play over Last
mhm,
Great American Dynasty,
it
I
did. It
think.
was a single, so
Yeah.
it's kind of understandable. But moving on to the sister record, if you will, Evermore. What do you think
Hmm.
of that one?
I call it the Sagittarius Surprise because it was released in December.
No one was
Um,
expecting that.
this is my
Your
favorite
fans are
cover.
so lucky.
I know, I know.
Ugh,
First of all, how did she? I don't know how she did it, but
yeah.
so this is my favorite album cover by her. But I
Hmm.
don't know. I love the colors. I love that it's
Yeah.
just her, like the back of her hair is so nicely done. So I love it. It's calming. It's everything that I think it's the more enjoyable of the two releases because it comes off quote unquote happier. Um, that's that's it. I think it again showed off her songwriting. I wouldn't say there's a huge difference between the two of them. Just to me, I didn't really sense too much of a difference. I know that there's also like a whole story with like three different
The
people in
trilogy. Yeah,
with
the love triangle.
the trilogy. Yeah, that which I think is just incredible that she was able to
Hmm.
do that. I
Yeah.
don't know the specifics of the story, so I feel like I'd have to listen to it a little bit more maybe and read up on it. I love No Body No Crime. No
Oh,
Body No
yeah.
Crime. Just
But
from the first
from the
second, like
first listen,
I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think some notable tracks are Willow I love, Champagne Problems I love, Nobody No Crime, Tis the Damn Season, Evermore. I think Evermore is the better Bonnie Bear collab than Exile. I didn't like Exile so much, but I liked Evermore a lot. Dorothea I love, and Long Story Short.
Hmm.
So those are that. I mean, I don't. I feel like a lot of what I said in Folklore kind of applies to Evermore.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely a similar vibe that you have going on here, although you do get the overarching energy that this is a little bit happier and it does have a little bit of a different feel, but not that much. It still has the same singer-songwriter approach to it. I really do think that this album is kind of equal in quality with Folklore, but I don't think in my ranking, it's not as high because I really do think Folklore overshadows this album. So when I think people are going to look back on Taylor Swift's discography, I think they're going to remember Folklore more so than
Mhm.
Evermore. Just my opinion. I could be wrong
Mhm.
because this is a future prediction, but I think Folklore overshadows it for what this was, and I don't even think this will win Album of the Year either. But
Mhm.
I do think that when I'm looking on the track list here, my favorites are Champagne Problems. Tolerate It's probably my favorite song. I love
Oh
that
yeah.
one. Nobody No Crime, although I will say it grew off me a little bit, but it was my
Mhm.
favorite on my initial listen. I like
Mhm.
Ivy, and what else is there? Enclosure kind of has like I'm honestly like not like that like critical of this song, even though like everyone hates it. But it kind of sounds like a Fiona Apple, like a little bit like the noises she's doing in the back. And it's like, oh, like interesting.
I'm
So
not.
that's what
I
you
feel like I need to listen to more Fiona Apple before I say anything on that. So
think.
I'm not too sure about that,
Maybe not.
but
But I don't know. That one was a funny one, but Willow's good. I don't know if I mentioned Willow, but it's melodically catchy. Let's see. Tis the Damn Season. I know you mentioned this is my favorite. I personally don't really like this one as much
mhm.
just because I think the production on this one is a little bit weird. It has a rich
Yeah.
melody, but I don't know. Like when I'm listening to it, like with my headphones, it's like
Mhm.
on like one of my ears, like there's this drum that's banging in the back that's like really loud, and I don't like
Mhm.
that. But other than that, I think like all the songs are pretty good, some better than others, like I said. But
Mhm.
I do think that this album's great. I just don't think that it's gonna stand out more so than Folklore when you look at the styles like this. Because when you look at an artist's discography and their overarching styles, I feel like they have one main album that kind of stands out, and I think that'll be Folklore for her. Maybe
Yeah.
just it's because it came out first, but I
I
don't know.
think so. I think it's a combination of it just being slightly better written and also that it came out first. I think it's
Slightly.
a combination of the two. But I agree. I think Folklore will just be more well known, and and that's okay. They're both good.
I
Like I did,
know.
They're both very good. I like Evermore a little bit more, I think, than Folklore, but like they're right next to each
They're
other
pretty
for me.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, we've gotten into all 9 of her albums, and definitely solid discography. So we're
Yeah.
gonna share our final album rankings from
Mm-hmm.
last to first. So you want to go first?
Sure. So I'm gonna put Reputation in last place for obvious reasons. Then I've got Debut. Then I have probably Fearless. Then I have 1989. Then I'm gonna put Folklore and then Evermore, but those two can switch depending on the day. Then I have Lover in third, Red in second, Speak Now in first.
Okay. So I would say for last place, I have Taylor Swift. And then I have 8th place, I have Reputation, only because I like Getaway Car more than every song on Taylor Swift. But other than that, there's still more hurting it, I feel like. Anyways, I feel like 7th place, I would have Lover. 6th place, I would have Fearless. 5th place, I would have Evermore, only because of the reasons I said. I think Folklore overshadows it.
Mm-hmm.
4th place, I would have 1989. 3rd place, Speak Now. 2nd place, Folklore. And then 1st place, Red. So that's basically my rankings.
There we
And
go. Well, that was fun. So we'd like to thank you guys for tuning in with us on this podcast. We release episodes twice a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays. So be sure to check us out on all our social media. It'll be linked right here. And our next episode is going to be us discussing our 10 favorite albums of all time. So remember, it's just going to be our favorites. We're going to talk about why it's our favorite, what we love about it. And we're really excited to see you guys then. So until then, it's sayonara from Vinisha and from
Dylan. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys for watching.
Photo album on the counter, your cheeks were turning red.